All right. All right, everybody. So if you're just joining us, thank you so much for joining and welcome. This is our very first Savvy Ladies workshop. I'm so excited, and budgeting is a perfect topic to start. So the format's going to be a little different than our traditional webinars. So we've kind of made this a three-part, if you will, series. This is part one today, so we won't be probably taking a full hour today. Today, we're going to introduce our workshop, or our workshop, obviously, but also what we're going to be using. So we're actually going to introduce the budget worksheet that we're going to be using. And then you can ask any questions that you have about that, about the particular worksheet that we're using. And then you'll have homework. So you will go and actually fill out your budget to the best that you can, and come back for our next session, which is in 2 weeks from today. So come back with that worksheet filled in. And then we are going to be doing some different breakout rooms where we're going to get in and really get to the meat of the budget, discuss it, you know, bounce ideas off of each other. There's no right or wrong answers to budgeting. It's what fits your lifestyle. So we're gonna really work it out together. So that's how it's gonna work. And then we're gonna do a check-in a month later. We're all gonna come back and check in, and we're gonna see how that worked for you and how we can improve it and what other suggestions our volunteers can offer. So I would love to introduce Peter, who is here with me for our very first workshop, who's going to get us started with explaining our sheet that I'm going to share in just a minute. But first of all, while I'm still letting people in here, I want to draw your attention to the chat. I'm going to post both of the worksheets that we are using right now, so you can download them. There's one. And let me scroll back up and copy the other. This is live TV, folks. This is how we're doing it. All right, so those are there. And the title of the one that we're going to be working with first is called My New Money Goal. And it's the one I just posted. And I'm periodically going to be posting it again for those of you that are just joining us, that you'll be able to download it. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Peter. I am going to share my screen, and Peter, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Tracy, and welcome to everybody. And if anybody's on the West Coast, good morning. And if you're not, good afternoon. Okay, I'm going to hit end poll here and kind of clear this out, if I may.
There we go.
And there's the results. It's well, it seems like the majority of people are not using a budget. Oh, this is not good. Not good.
That's what we're here for.
We're going to have to, I'm sorry, I grew up in the parochial school system. The yardstick is coming out any moment now. Yes, you can always tell the people who went to parochial schools, they got arthritis by age 30 in their hands. No, stop it. Are you sticking to your budget? Okay, you're not using the budget. Well,
there we go.
We're going to go through this, and we are Tracy is going to put up those 2 dates, the follow-up dates. What we're trying with Savvy Ladies right now is that we are—
Sorry, I'm trying to get my screen back in order. Something's happened. There we go. Once again, everybody, live TV.
And what Savvy Ladies has is that they have posted, or at least Tracy has posted 2 forms, which we're going to be referencing today. One is that top one on your right. If you're not in the meeting chat, you can look at the chat box, and it is the CFPB. I've just pulled that up. It is off the website of the CFPB board, and it is My New Money Goal. So pretty easy. The first thing about budgets is don't be afraid of them. The second thing, they are a tool. They're not meant to be anything more than just a guideline. So And most people don't like them because they're either afraid of them, don't understand them, or just don't know how to use them. I use them in every person that I meet. Now, I've been a financial planner, registered investment advisor in New York for, I hate to say it, over 20 years, and every one of my clients I do a budget for. Um, you know, I don't care whether they're making several $1,000,000 a year or they're making $20,000 a year. Everybody needs it because it's the starting point for so much of understanding and taking control of your finances. And we'll go through some of those. If anybody attended the last WebEx, we had our Zoom call, whatever we're using here, is that the budget really is a tool for you to take control of your finances, understand what you're doing with your money and how it's being spent. Don't don't make it too complex. Don't overthink a budget. It's really meant as a guide rail. Think of it as if you're driving along a highway, and on one side is the ocean, on the other side is a mountain. Think of it as just the guardrails. You're just trying to stay on the road and not fall into the ocean and not crash into the mountain, which is you're overspending or you're underspending or you're missing part of life. The other thing is that put the fun stuff in your budget. Don't make it so dry and so boring that it lasts 2 weeks and it's forgotten, or 2 months. Put the fun stuff in it. Put that you will have to have at least 2 weeks away from wherever you are on a vacation. And maybe put 2 other times where you're taking short-term vacation. Put in something as an incentive for working hard and doing what you have to do. And put in the fun stuff that says, gee, I got my credit card debt from $10,000 down to $2,000 in 6 months. Good. Give yourself a little reward for doing those things. Life is not meant to be that tough, and you don't stop using your finances to beat yourself up with. Okay. As I said, I've been in the financial industry for over 20 years. And what I'm going to be using today and referencing is on your screen. It is a very simple form. And we're going to go through the terminologies. Please ask any questions along the way. This is your time, not just mine. I can do this stuff in my sleep, and I have done it in my sleep sometimes. All right. So let's start off. What is the purpose of a budget in your own words? Can somebody put that in the chat box? What do you want to get out of today? Actually, that should be my primary question. What do you want to get out from our time today? And what do you really want me to tell you about how to do this? Learning to save. This is the perfect starting place to learn how to save, because you will understand what your income is and what your expenses are and what you've got left over. Okay, understanding, making realistic budget. Let me tell you, it's all about a realistic budget. It's about what you do. And you can lie to a lot of people, but you can't lie to yourself. So if you're going to be doing stuff, put it in the budget. You don't have to share it with other people, but you can do it there. Budget for retirement is no different than your budget for what you're doing now. So if you're whoever put that in there, for retirement is just looking out over a longer period of time. Some people are getting out. I've got people who want to retire in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and some people will retire 2 months before they pass away. So retirement, if you're going to retire, let's say 67, let's say full Social Security benefits at 67, you can literally have 30 plus years of retirement. So you've got to look long and see how you're going to make that. But that's another topic for another day. How to best use your money and make money. You
Some
know,
other ones up at the top there, Peter, too. I really liked this one too, about understanding how to budget for variable costs.
and we were going to get to that in a couple
Mhm.
minutes. But there's a lot of good questions here. So if I don't get to them today, feel free to either send me an email or send Tracy an email and we'll get to all the answers. But the next,
And I'm actually going to go ahead and download all of these questions and make sure that we can get a Q&A out as well to the best of our ability.
okay, good. Live within your means is really one of the purposes of the budgets also. It's meant to be kind of show you, it's giving you a path forward. And it's not written in concrete or stone or granite or whatever else you want. It's meant as a guideline. You know, this month I had some car issues, and of course, every time I go to take my car to the mechanic, it's $600 and up. Or I had to pay my home. You know, what you're doing is kind of preparing these things. Some things, some people pay insurance products on a monthly basis, some are semi-annually, some go for the big discount of paying it annually. So we're going to show where and how to do that. Now, if you open up or download that My New Money Goal, which is the form from the Consumer Finance Protection Board. So I didn't want to give you my budget from, so I don't look like I'm biased here. By the way, I am an independent financial planner. So I'm not beholden to anybody but the regulatory authorities. So for this purposes of this seminar, what we're going to do is use the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, the CFPB, form called My New Money Goal. And all a budget is list your income, then list all your expenses. And that's where most people get kind of fouled up expense-wise. And we're going to go how not to double count things. And then that's whatever is left over when you subtract your expenses from your income is called discretionary income. The big thing, if we start on the new money goal, first of all, I'm a very big proponent. You got to write things down. I don't care whether you put them on your phone or your computer or on a piece of paper or your wallpaper. The thing is if you don't write it down, you've got a wish. If it's sitting up in your head, it's a wish. If you write it down somewhere, it's a plan. So what you start with is this is a commitment that you make to yourself. So you put in there, what's my money goal? And can be, what are you saving money for? What do you want to achieve? And I don't care whether it's pay off my debt, buy a house, get a better apartment, buy a car, or just retire. Frankly, most people don't retire. They just transition to something they really want to do. But on the form, the second section is, what am I saving for now? So you usually start out when you do financial planning is, what are you saving for? But before you start saving, what are you doing with it? Give everything you do purpose. And it sounds kind of crazy, but there's a number of things that I say that drive the people I work with crazy, because everything has to have a purpose. If it's for enjoyment, if it's for work, if it's for, give it a label. If you're going to save, what are you saving for? The first thing is we got to save is set up what we call a cash reserve. So you need some type of emergency savings, rainy day fund. We'll go into that in more detail later. Are we saving for retirement, or what is it that you want to do? So that's kind of the start of where you want to have a budget, and you want to label these things because you're putting something in front of you and you're trying to achieve that goal. So when we talk about a budget, where do we start? Well, you start with writing your goals down, and then you start by saying, okay, the first thing you do is, what's your income? Now you got the only trick of writing your income down is your monthly income. Is it gross income or is it net income? Net income is money you actually get in your paycheck or your freelance. Though if are there any freelancers or independent contractors out there? I was working with someone last fall. If you're an independent contractor, what's the big thing you got to worry about? And if the first thing doesn't come to mind is taxes, taxes is one of the huge things. You don't want to make money all year long and you go to pay your taxes and say, oops, I didn't accrue any money. In a paycheck, they deduct your state taxes, they just deduct all the federal taxes, your Social Security and everything else. Independent contractors, we have to, and I'm an independent contractor, I have to save for not only my taxes, I have to save and pay both sides of Social Security. I have to pay the Medicare taxes. I have to pay state. And if you live in a city, you got to pay city taxes. So you're paying the state, the Fed, and everybody else basically before you get paid. So if you wait, that can be a real issue. I had someone last year that I started working with at the end of October, and I said, okay, you're an independent contractor, you get these different types of income. I said, have you been saving for your taxes? And the answer was no. I basically had 4 weeks to have her save enough money so we didn't run into underpayment penalties and everything else by the IRS in the state that she lived in.
So Peter, real quick, I had a question coming to me regarding retirement budgets. And so basically where it says income source being job, that's where you would put your retirement income, what's coming in. And right, that's basically you can use the same worksheet for retirement. Is that correct, Peter?
Absolutely.
Or I guess to clarify, are you looking to figure out what your budget is going to be in retirement? Or I think you had answered that you were already retired. So I'm assuming that this form would work for someone who's already retired.
Yeah, if you're retired already, what you do is, okay, what's my sources of income? Pension, Social Security, whatever it is. You have a side job, you work occasionally, you get cash for a job, I take bottles back, whatever it is. You recycle, you do whatever it is, that's your income. Social Security is in retirement. Social Security tends to be one of the bigger items that people get on a monthly basis. Are you getting interest income? Are you getting, well, it should be significant interest income. Are you getting from investments, 401k, 403b, or any other of the retirements? So when you're in retirement, it's how are you going to get the income you need to cover your expenses, but also what you need to look at in retirement is the sources of income. So if you're getting dividends, dividends are taxed very differently than interest from bonds. Interest, like from any type of interest, like savings bonds or regular bonds, or from your bank accounts, that's taxed as ordinary income, and which just is part of your gross income. But if you are getting qualified dividends are considered and taxed at long-term capital gains. Do you have municipal bonds? Whatever, but capital gains. So if you're in a 20% tax bracket, you're probably going to pay not more than 10% in a qualified dividend. So the trick of retirement income, or if you're not retired, is how do you get the most income in the most tax efficient way? I can say I can pay you $100,000, but if you have a high tax bracket, $100,000, if you could be giving up a huge chunk of that to federal taxes. But if you're making 100,000 and you get a dividend, you're going to be charged probably 15%. So it's not how much you get, it's where you get money from and the taxes. But I don't want to get into that much detail yet. But if people have questions, we can talk about that. But that
Yeah, I was going to say that's a great question for when we really get into the worksheet next week when they fill their information out. But quick clarification then, Peter, on the income sources, I am putting in the gross, right? So this is what I'm taking home after taxes.
Well, no, that's not gross. That would be, I'm sorry, you're right. That is gross income. So if you're, the trick of putting your income in, just remember whether you're doing things before taxes or after taxes. So if I'm doing, I get $2,000 in my paycheck, but I really get paid $3,000. You got to be careful because now your Social Security, your 401ks and everything else, and all your taxes are being taken out as you go. So the trick of putting income in, let's say it's from a job or, from some type of work environment, just remember whether you're putting your income in from before taxes or after taxes. Does that make sense, someone?
It looks like a couple of questions that we can send out on the Q&A. And we can send that out for you guys as you are putting your budget together for next week's.
Actually, there's one question on the person who at 64. There's a huge amount of questions if you're retiring what I consider early and the government considers early. 64, you're not going to be eligible for Medicare. You got to worry about healthcare coverage. There's a ton of things that you got to worry about. But your income, monthly withdrawal, yes, you can get money from your retirement, which 403B is from a not-for-profit organization. By the way, does everyone understand that 401k, 403B, 457, 414H? Do you know where they come from? It's simple. It's right out of the IRS code. So if you're a nerd like me that cures insomnia by reading the IRS code, it is a great way to cure insomnia. But all those numbers just relate to a section and a paragraph in the IRS code that refers to whatever type of organization. 401k is a for-profit institution that allows you to put away money tax deferred. A 403B is a not-for-profit. 457 is slightly different. That's all these numbers. Just refer to the IRS code. All you got to do is just make sure it's before taxes. Unless you've got a Roth 401k, then it's after tax money. But so I don't want to get into strategies of when you take Social Security. Let's just keep focus on kind of doing this budget right now. And if you have specific questions about retirement, those will be good for the next kind of seminars we have. So if you're going to do gross income, then you'll see all the deductions on your paycheck. So you see federal taxes, you see state taxes, you see that Medicare tax, blah, 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 Social Security, everything else is right in there. So if you're going to put gross income, that's one thing. Sometimes it's easier just to see list the net income, because that's really how you're doing your budget on a monthly basis. You're looking, I get, $2,000 every 2 weeks, and that's the money I have to run my household and my life off. So how much beer can I buy for $2,000 and pay my rent still? So that's all that goes in income. But you look at if you're getting investment income, you can get very specific with, I'm getting, this type of income, it's taxed this way. So, how you do that is up to you. Just make it where you can understand your budget. This is you doing it. Okay. Any questions on income? Yeah, actually, what is it tomorrow? You said net income for you is what comes into your checking account after the employer takes out all the taxes and the deductions and all the other things. If you've got HSAs and FSAs, HSAs are health savings accounts, FSA or flexible savings accounts, and all the other benefits you may or may not get at work. So income, just keep it simple. It's, if you want to do it, just understand whether it's before taxes, and after taxes is basically what you get in your paycheck. And then all the sources of income. Do you have a little side hustle? Do you have any other money coming in? Do you have trust funds? Do you have, alimony, child support, all the hundreds of different ways people get money? All right, any questions on income for anybody? What, everyone, so if I ask, you're lucky I don't have the screen of who's up there now, but if I ask you, what is income to you? What would you put in that box? Just throw that in the chat box so everyone can kind of see where your thinking is. What is income to you? And that's a big thing. Thank you, whoever just put that in there, your spouse. If you're doing a family budget, you got to get the buy-in of the people that are involved in it. And that maybe not your kids, although they're usually the biggest ones that hit you up for the money. But if you're a parent, how many times do your kids come up? Oh, by the way, we're having a field trip to, today. I need $100 so I can go to the museum with the rest of the class on the bus. Or I need a couple $100 to do that sports for the season. I live in a district where it's like an a la carte menu. Everything is extra, extra, extra. I feel like I'm selling newspapers. But so if you're doing a family budget or just you and your spouse, there's a lot of families have one saver, one spender. This is a way to kind of get a handle on all those. Money earned, let's see, what is everyone? My spouse want to take home checks from work. Yeah. If you're working for someone, they're mandated to take out taxes and all those costs. If you're getting a 1099, that's the form that shows you that basically you're being paid as an independent contractor and that taxes and everything else is your problem. And by the way, if you are an independent contractor, you're having large sources of income, you don't want to wait to the last minute to pay your taxes. You should be doing estimated taxes. So that should be part of your budget because there are penalties involved. If you underpay the IRS during the year, I think it's, don't hold me to this number, like 10%, you get a underpayment penalty. They're glad to take your money and they'll give it back to you as a refund. But that's also one thing for people who are independent contractors. You don't want to give the government, well, you may, give the government in the form of taxes more money than they really need because you're giving them an interest-free loan. So, but so trading time, expertise, yeah, contractors budget for taxes. It is really critical that if you're independent or you get large sums of money, that you consider taxes. And I strongly recommend talk to your tax advisor about those things. So so now you all understand income. Income is just nothing more than money comes to you. And just when you start that section of your budget, just understand whether you have to include taxes as an expense, because if you get money in your paycheck and then you are taking expenses and subtracting out taxes, you may be double counting or double counting that expense. The biggest thing is that people will say, oh, I've got a credit card, and they're double counting their expenses. I put $100 a month for gas for my car, but I put it on my credit card. You don't want to count your expenses twice. So let's look at expenses in a little more detail. So the usual, if you've got rent, just kind of break them up into what do I have every month, and then what am I kind of quarterly. I know Some of my expenses I pay monthly. I pay the insurances at, different times of the year. What do you do? So look at these if you look at the form, you can look at home, your mortgage, rent, your phones, and most people don't have phones at home anymore. They use a cell phone, or if you've got different types of communication, all your subscriptions, all those type of things. But if it's home, don't forget about putting your maintenance of your home in there and kind of accrue. I came home one day, I see water on the floor, and I'm swearing up and down because I didn't believe it was raining the day before, and I got water in the basement. And the bottom line is my boiler need to be replaced. And of course, it was about a year out of warranty, so now I had to cough up $6,000. This is where your emergency fund comes in, so I didn't have to go into debt to finance an emergency repair at home. But debt, what type of debt do you have? You have credit cards, you have personal loans, you have car loans, you may have mortgages, whatever it is. Student loans is a big thing. All those are considered debt, and you should be putting those down. The worst type of debt you can have is credit cards, and we'll get more into that in the next time. And on debt, understand on debt how much you're paying for that. I used to have a person that was always got this huge refund, and then he paid his taxes with that refund. And I'm saying, why do you do, or paid with his refund, paid off his credit card balances? I said, if I can communicate one thing to everyone on this webinar, is that stop paying other people and pay yourself, and pay yourself first. So if you've got a credit card that has a balance, and I usually see them maybe on the low end of about 10%, and I've seen them up to 36%. But I've seen a number of credit cards in the last year that are at 30%. Think of it. If I am at 30%, $29.99, and I have $10,000 of debt, I'm paying $3,000 a year, or before I even start paying principal, I'm paying $250 a month to a credit card company. Why isn't the person that's getting paid that $250 a month you? We'll go into more of those strategies when we get into the working of the next workshop, when people can come in with their individual questions. But to me, the one thing that drives me nuts that I need to get rid of first is credit card debt. At least at least some of the other debt, like a mortgage, is tax deductible, but credit card debt is nothing but pure expense going out. And why are you paying someone else for what you should be able to do? What if you have no debt? Great. That means you're just a very good master of your own universe, and you're good at your money.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
All right. So after debt and the type of credit card and the loans, look at what your family does. Daycare. I had someone who was paying over $3,000 a month for just 2 children to be in daycare. And I said, the average for your area should be about $2,400. Oh, but we like it. That's where a choice comes down. Choose how you spend your money from knowledge, not from a place of I like. Because the first thing you should do before you spend your money is this nice or is this necessary? Those are the big questions. Is this necessary? I gotta pay my cable bill, or I've gotta pay my internet bill, or I've gotta pay my mortgage, or there's gonna be consequences. But before I buy it, gee, I'd like another pair of shoes, and I've already got 4 or 5 pairs of shoes. Is it nice or is it necessary? I did that because my girlfriend just bought me another pair of shoes, and it's like, do I really need boat shoes? And She did it because she threw my other ones out before she told me also, but the answer was yes, I now needed shoes. But anyway, family, don't forget the biggest problem when you look at family is usually healthcare costs. You know, if you're paying alimony, child support, those are pretty simple to know what those expenses are. If you're paying tuition for school, those are, you know what those are and when they come up. Just put them in your budget so you know that you're looking for it. Think of it this way. If you say, I'm going to take vacation. Now, I live in New York, and it's always so pleasant to be in New York when the traditional colors of January is either snow, slush, and we're all learning to do the high hurdles going through intersections across the Great Lakes that form at the intersections because of all the snow and slush buildup. You know, think of it as, how would you like to be in a nice Caribbean island with a gentle breeze blowing, and it's now 80 degrees. The pina coladas are a perfect 44 degrees Fahrenheit. And the only thing disturbing you is the gentle wind blowing through the turquoise sea in front of you. Whatever it is, I mean, that's the reward. But how would you feel if you have that money prepaid, ready for when you come back, your credit card bills for the hotel and all those pina coladas, and all the food and the wonderful memories? Now you got the money, you pay it off. You used someone else's money and you paid it off so you didn't know any interest. That's what we want to do with some of the accruing for expenses. I know my insurance bill for my homeowners is at least once, if not twice a year, I pay it.
So
Right.
Peter, that's a good question to answer right here. So when we have these things that we know that are due in a certain month, the lump sum, like every 6 months, I pay my car insurance. In my budget, I should divide that among the number of months I have and make sure that I'm putting it aside. Is that correct?
Yes. So if I know I'm paying, let's say, $3,000 a year for car insurance, first of all, what you should do is check whether it's necessary. If you've got a 20-year-old train car that is basically everyone stays away from because they're not sure that the paint is going to hold the rust together anymore, what you do is look at it. If you've got subscriptions, if you've got a car or whatever, and you know you pay it twice a year, think of it as you're going to accrue it until you pay it, and you're basically saving $250 a month to get to that amount. And if you're saving it beforehand, when it comes up, it's you've got the money there, then you can send it out without, oh, what do I have to not do and not pay this month to pay this for a $3,000 bill? So you want to accrue these expenses on a monthly basis. And sometimes people will put out a 12-month budget, 12-month monthly budget. So when I do my financials, I know I've got X amount of cost every month. So I do basically a 12-month, 12-column spreadsheet that has my monthly bills in it. And then I'll put different things in there. So however you want to do that accrual for that fund down the line is up to you, but I tend to save it and put it in the account and it's ready, and I just save along the way. You know, if you got kids, children that are going back to school, you know that the August dance is usually, let's get all the clothes, let's all get all the books, get whatever it is. And August is a crazy month. And then you send them all back after September. If you do dry cleaning and, you know, you've got people that help you with housing, lawn maintenance, you know, just plan on it. Food, groceries. The biggest problem in the last 2 years has been the cost of groceries. I don't know about you, but inflation in my area for food is just, it's well beyond whatever these people, the yahoos down in Washington tell me. Oh, it's only 10%. I mean, I used to buy oatmeal It's actually it's up close to 100% from where it was. If you buy it at Costco, I used to buy the 10-pound package for like $8. It's up at 13. So costs are very real. And if you're yourself or you're eat out a lot, you feel the pinch of it. I mean, I do a lot of eating out. I go to Manhattan. Manhattan prices, if you're in the other part of the country, you would be shocked to see what you pay for a meal out in Manhattan. What I used to consider a $10 sandwich is much more. I threw down some money and bought some of the staff some lunch the other week, and it was $48 before the tip. So transportation, if you're, gas goes up, gas goes down. A home heating oil, you're just guessing at those. But you've got to do maintenance on your car. You got to do maintenance on the house, car insurance, all those things, web services. Actually, one of the best things about a budget is you get to look at what you're spending your money on. And almost every client of mine comes back and says, gee, I didn't know I was spending that much. Do I really need 4 or 5 different web services? It's usually comes up. Or why do I have this phone plan? Entertainment, the old movies, nobody ever just pays for a movie ticket. You got to have that $400 barrel of popcorn to go. So, be realistic with what you're paying. And if you're going to go to a live concert, okay, great. Just budget for it and say, okay, this is what I'm going to spend this. It's a major event, or I just like the group or whatever it is. And you just say, realistically, the tickets are this. We're going to go to dinner beforehand or have something to eat, whatever it is. But, if you go out, go out. You don't work and make money just to sit in an apartment. Life is about the experiences we have and the experiences that make it enjoyable. Sometimes the experiences aren't as good as others, but that's what we want in life. And then miscellaneous. If you're a charitable person, you give gifts to you got a large family or people getting married. And I mean, if you're in your 20s and 30s, people getting married, so you got to give some type of gift, whatever it is, just put it down. If you have a pet, like there was a huge surge in the adoptions of pets and getting new pets during the pandemic. And very few people realized how expensive a pet is, because you got to have the vet bills, which are veterinarian bills are pretty much the same as human bills, except you don't get insurance on most of them. But, what type of food do you have? Food for pets is very expensive if you get the good stuff. So in essence, when you are looking at your expenses, you can break it into different sections, but be realistic with what you have. And sometimes you come up with more things as you go through, because other things happen. Some bills are not as frequent as others. So try to get them as close as possible. But if you're budgeting $500 a month for food and you're really spending $600 or $800 a month, or if you're budgeting $100 a month for entertainment and you're really only using 30, be realistic with it, because every dollar counts. And one part that we haven't talked about is when you take your income and you subtract all those expenses that you expect, what's left over is called discretionary income, or money that you can use for whatever you want. Now, part of that discretionary income should be, I'm going to reward myself today, but I'm going to save some of it for the future. And that can mean my vacation next year, or my retirement, or retirement is always there, but it may be 40 or 50 years away, or it could be 30, 20 or tomorrow. So you're always putting a little bit away today for the future issues. Now, I see a lot of smiling faces, but let me just use one illustration. If you are, let's say, 25 years of age and you save $5,000 a year and you get an average of 8% return, and you're, let's say you're going full 43 years to full Social Security, 43 years. Anyone want to guess what you should have? $5,000 a year, 8% interest on average return, 43 years. Well, I'll give you the answer. I see a couple of heads down. They got their little 12. Oh, there it is. There it is. I was wondering who the financial one was. It's actually about 1.65 million. You want to be a millionaire? Tamara is on it. I saw that head go down. There's a 12, there's a 10 BC HP there. I got it. No laughing. This is very serious business. We're always very serious in the financial industry. We don't smile. And we're boring. But yeah, it's called time value of money. So would you rather have, the real question is, do you want to be a millionaire? The question isn't whether you want to be a millionaire, it's how many millions do you want? Because if you have time, the difference 10 years later, come on, Tamara, what's 10 years less on that 25-year-old? You're going to have less than half of that number, that 1.65. A couple of years matters so much, and it's very simple. You know, we can do all the planning we want, we can push all the numbers, but time and compounding of money. So if I say I want to have a house, a down payment for a house, how soon do you want it? And then what are you going to do? Right now, if you've got a pile of cash saving up and it's earning you 0.1%, maybe you should look at what can I do to take a risk-free rate of return, and, you know, talk to someone who's a professional, like a U.S. Treasury. I've been buying a lot of U.S. Treasuries, short-term bills, which means anywhere from 4 to 26 weeks is where I've been buying. And, you know, the 17 weeks are 5% plus, 26 weeks are 5% plus. It's IRS taxable, but on the federal level, but it's state tax-free. So would you want your money earning 0.1% in the local branch, or 0.5% in the money market? Or if you use an online bank, getting maybe 3.25%? Which one do you want? So, you know, some of these things is how do you, it's how do you use your money and what amount of risk, which is another conversation for another day. But, you know, it really comes down to when your savings for things down the road, whether it's college for your children or it's your retirement, the biggest mistake I see is people spend every dime they have to get the kids through college, and now all of a sudden they're 50 years of age and they've got nothing for retirement. The odds of getting money to retirement are going to be drastically less. You're cutting your own quality of life down.
That's the truth. That's what we wrestle with. But yep, you've got to take care of you. So we're just about coming to time, and I just wanted to, if you have not been able to find this page, I'm going to put it in the chat one more time, and go ahead and download that. So just to recap, this fills everything in for you. It does the math. Get in there, play with it. Try to come up with some numbers that you think will work. Come prepared. Our next session for our workshop is on the 28th of March at 1 p.m. If you haven't registered already, come to that or go ahead and register. It is on our website under upcoming events. So what we're going to do is we're going to break out into some smaller groups so that we can actually answer as many personal questions as we can. So make sure you are ready. And then on April 25th, at 1 p.m., we're going to get back together and we're going to go over how this worked after having a month under our belts on this budget and ask any questions, think about what we could have done better, celebrate what we've done the best that we possibly could, celebrate the little things. And yes, Peter, did you have something else?
Yep, I'm sorry. Just real quickly, keep it simple. Don't make it complex for yourself. This is yours, so you don't have to share it with everybody in the neighborhood. This is just something for you. And what you do is, if you get the sheets that we have posted up there, that what is this, my new money goal, it has lots of spaces that you can put the different categories in, and you can make it any way you want. What you do is, if you make your budget, then bring it back and then ask all your questions of how do we do this? So, just be careful of on the income, understand whether it's net or gross income. Before tax or after tax is the big thing. And on the expenses are nothing more than, what do you expect to pay on an average month? So put them all down. Sometimes, what I pay out on a monthly basis, because I'm running a business, is huge. I mean, there's a huge number of things that I see that go on every month, and they're expensive to run, not only your personal budget, but to run a business budget also. So, and it doesn't matter whether you're 20 years old or 70 years old, this is the foundation of everything. Once you get a hold of your budget, this is a tool that you use to raise your credit score, build your credit history, get better credit scores, so you can, if you are buying a new car or a new apartment, people see you've got a good history, you've got control, you're responsible for your money, you will get better deals. So this is what we want to do as our jumping place, because once you see all the stuff that is not necessary, and you choose to take control of your own finances and you take control with knowledge, then what you're doing is setting a standard which you want to live, and that you are working towards your lifestyle, and the lifestyle you prefer to and choose to live on. Live life on your terms by understanding your finances.
Right. So we did have another question about an Excel spreadsheet for budgeting. Savvy Ladies website does have one. This sheet Peter had picked as a great starting point to kind of teach budgeting. But if you want to download the Savvy Ladies budget form, it is on our website. Please feel free to do that. We have, if you want to take a look at that before the next meeting, we also have a budgeting section on our website. And additionally, we have our free financial online courses, and there's a section of budgeting there as well. So the form that you use isn't as important as that you're doing it and you're sticking to it and you're just getting started. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close today's session, and I look forward to seeing you all back here on the 28th. And bring your specific questions. We will be ready to answer them. And thank you all for your time. Peter, thank you again for your time. Wishing everybody a lovely afternoon.
And make it fun. Just put some fun think of it as, and put those rewards in there. I don't care whether you're skiing the Alps, which was on my bucket list, climbing the Great Wall of China. Some things may take longer to get, but put the good stuff in there as an incentive for doing good.